welcome back. Kudos to you and pat on the back for joining us for another live stream today. Thank y'all for sticking it out with me for the past few minutes. We were trying to figure out the sound situation. So we have the sound situation together. I was just trying to check YouTube real quick. Alright, so we're good on YouTube. Alright, so how was your trading week this week, you guys? How was your trading week? Mine was, I guess we can say, profitable. I didn't make as much as I normally do. I made about $100. I made 123, something like that, on today, because Nas hit stop loss and AJ hit stop loss. But even with those two stop losses, I was still able to come out profitable this week. So if you have been tuned in to my TikTok or my Instagram or YouTube, this Nas trade right here, I posted I posted it on Instagram and TikTok, and then we went over it live on YouTube. And this was one of my stop loss trades this week. Now we're gonna go over this trade. We'll walk through my process as to why I entered here. I wasn't expecting it to come back up here, but I guess this is just a second retest for us. Okay, so if you're new here, I trade Romeo's CRT method along with ICT concepts. And this week, I was aiming for the weekly CRT, which is normally what I trade. I trade the weekly or the monthly on indices and currency, and then if I'm scalping, I'll do the H4 on indices. So the weekly CRT, I would mark up last week's candle. So this is this week's candle, and this is last week's candle. This is the candle that I traded off of this week. And so when we do our markup, this would be the candle that I'll trade off of next week. So in order to find my CRT ranges, I just go to my weekly chart, go to the last week's candle. I mark the high, the low, and 50% of my candle's range. And then when I'm on the weekly, I go down to the 1 hour time frame or lower to look for entries. Normally on my currency pairs, I'll go down each time frame and look for trend lines and things of that nature. But with indices, because they move so fast, I just go to the 1 hour and below. So I found out that TradingView added these cute little tables, and I was going over my trading rules, and I was like, I need to get better with making sure that I'm actually following my rules. So I was able to make this cute little chart, and we're going to go over this chart with this trade, and let's see if I actually follow my rules. All right, excuse me. My throat is a little dry today.
Of course, those companies want to make a profit, and this is the beauty of Taylor Brands. They are transparent. Starting a business costs money.
Sorry
There's no
about
way
that.
around it. Plus, they're not keeping
I'm
it a
trying to
secret that you
check
can
on
handle some of
TikTok.
these services on your own if you want to. But Taylor Brands is not about that. After answering a few questions, their guided platform will create a personal business plan based on
Okay,
your
all
specific
right.
needs.
So,
Take you step by step on your business journey. You have real
first
people
things
you can
first
talk to
is
via their
to
live
mark up the chart,
consultations.
which is what we did.
Taylor Brands, the
Now,
only business builder. Think of it like going to the mall.
my
Everything
very
you need is
first
in one place.
question
You only need
was
to
for
find
this
your
trade:
power
was I
place. Form your
scalping
LLC,
or
take
intraday
care of your
trading?
business license
And I know
requirements,
when I'm
set up your
doing
business
a
insurance,
weekly
open your
markup,
business
I
bank
am
account,
doing
brand your
intraday
business
trading.
automatically with easy-to-use tools,
So,
and keep it safe with the trademark. That's a lot. I'm
I'm
not
gonna get my
about selling you
text,
stuff you don't need. Taylor Brands is
and
all
I'm just
about
gonna
giving
put
you
an X
big
right
open
there.
choices to
I
make
just needed
smart
something that
calls.
was gonna
It's
be
your journey. You
easy
call the shots on what your business really needs.
to
So head
market.
to Taylor
Bam.
Brands and
Okay.
build your business today.
Now, did price run a high or a low? So we know that this is our high, this is our low, and this is 50%.
How come we're
Yes,
taught to get a
price
9 to
did
5,
run
but nobody
our
tells
high
us
because
about
this
the
was our
secret
high.
5
Price came
9
outside of this
strategy
area.
that actually
Oh,
creates
you know
time
what
and
else?
financial freedom. If you
Did
swap your
price
9 to 5 for a 5 to 9, that is the
consolidate?
easiest path for women to
Because
create
we
wealth
do
and
need
freedom.
this
And here's how
consolidation.
it
Did
works.
price run a
Everybody
high
knows
or a
by
low?
now that the 9 to 5 is a never-ending cycle. You clock in, you clock
We'll
out,
make
it
that
pays
an
your bills, and
extra
that's really
question.
it. Your life stays the same, and
Add
you're
a column
basically
to the right.
repeating the same day every single
Did
day
price
until you can finally retire at 65. If you stay within the 9 to 5, there's really no way out of the 9 to 5. That's how the system was designed. So if you
How do we
really
want to
think
word
about
this?
it,
Did
the only way
price
to escape this cycle is by doing
consolidate
something outside
and
of the 9
then
to
run
5,
liquidity?
or what I like to
That's
call
another
the
thing that
5
we
to
want to
9.
see.
And no, I don't mean
Did
to work a second
price
job. What I mean is
consolidate
taking the extra hour or two you have after work to
and
start an
then
extremely high leverage, hands-off side
run
hustle that you can start
liquidity?
earning your additional income. One that you can grow month over month until it's double what you make at your full-time
And that's
job.
definitely another
That
yes
way,
or
you can
no
walk away confidently and
answer,
comfortably.
which is
After
easy
teaching
enough.
thousands of women this 5 to
All
9
right.
trick, there's
So did
always
price
been
run
a
a high?
different
So
story.
yet again, this
They
is
had
our
a 9 to
high.
5
This
that
was
they
last week's high.
absolutely
Price ran the
hated.
high. So
They knew
that
they
was a
weren't
yes. What
living
happened
up
to
to
my
their full
ex,
potential
bro?
in life, but they
Okay,
couldn't quit the
don't
9
do
to
me
5.
like
It
that.
would have been silly since that was their only source of income. So what
X.
they do is they start a low risk 5 to 9 side hustle that
Okay, we
doesn't
gotta
take up
figure
hours
that
and hours
part
to
out.
set up. They begin earning some income with their side hustle, and when their 5
It's
to 9
marketed
earns
on my
more
chart
than their
and
9 to
not on
5,
my
they have the
table.
option to fully transition to a
Do I have
side
to edit
hustle
it
where
every
they can set
time? I
their
don't
own
want to do
hours,
that.
work from
Okay,
home, and really have
we should
full
be able to just
control over
do
their
this.
lives.
Here we go.
The way all these women were able
This
to
was an
do this was
intraday.
through a little known strategy called Connect to e-commerce.
Come back.
So let me show you some of the results these 9 to 5 escapers were able to produce. So Kelly here, she says, I
Okay.
launched this month
Did
full
price
week
run
and set
a
a
high
goal
or
of
a low?
3.5K, which went over,
Yes.
and she made 5,000 in her first full
X.
month. She also says, I have 5 daughters, a
Did
full-time
price?
job,
Why did I
2
spell
dogs,
consolidate
and I play
wrong?
cricket. So if I can do it, you definitely can. Barbara says, jumping all in
Did
made a
price
big difference in my
consolidate
life.
and
I'm
then
so
run
happy
liquidity?
I quit
Okay.
my job. My
So
marriage
this
is stronger
right
than
here
ever. My
is
kids are proud,
considered
and I finally
consolidation.
feel like I'm living my life to the fullest potential.
This was a
Barbara
high
says, I just wanted to post
and
an
this
update. My
was
goal
a
for
low.
last month was $20,000. Last month, I hit
All right.
milestones in my first 1K, 2K, and 3K days. I was finally able to quit my job at Target, and my last day was Wednesday. Chelsea, she says, I finally quit my 9 to 5 and fully focusing on my Shopify
Okay,
store.
we gotta
I can do
fix that. All right. I'll put a border on here so you can see our consolidation. Okay. So price did consolidate. Price ran liquidity here because this was our last. This was our lower high. Okay, so this was our lower high. This was our higher high. Price never got any higher. Then price came lower than here. And then it bounced around in this area. And then it gave us a lower low. All right. liquidity. Yes. Now it wants to edit. Okay, whatever, go with it. Let me see. Okay. Yes. And intraday. Alright. I feel like these should be red, but we'll do that. If price ran a high or low, did price break structure and leave a fair value gap or order block or both? So price broke structure here because this was our last. Nope. Sorry. This was our last lower high. This was our last higher low. Hold on, sometimes I have to. Okay, lower low, lower high, lower low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Okay, higher high, higher low, higher high. This was our last higher high, so our last higher low was our last structure point. Okay, price broke structure here. When price got lower than this low, this was a break of structure. Price did leave us a fair value gap, so that's a yes. All right, what is the risk reward? Is it a 2-to-1 or more? So, without knowing that this was going to happen, this is what we had. I originally had my entry here at the fair value gap because that's normally where I have it at this 50%. I'm going to delete these other lines. Okay. So my entry was here. It was a sell limit. And my stop loss was at the top of the candle that created the fair value gap. My TP was here at 50%. This risk to reward is a 3-to-1. So what is the risk to reward? The risk is 92 points or $92 to gain $304. Is it greater than a 2-to-1? Yes, it is because it's a 3-to-1. So that meets my criteria. Okay, so then I set limit, and wait for it to activate. If limit doesn't activate, look for another POI, which is point of interest. All right, so did you trade? Yes, I did. I want to add in another column. Did the trade hit stop loss or TP? Do TP and we'll do stop loss. This trade hit stop loss. All right, did you journal the trade? Yes, this is what we're doing now. Okay, so I think I have everything for my checklist. So from now on, when I trade, we're gonna have this checklist on the chart. We're gonna go through it before we enter every trade. We have a really good risk to reward ratio. This should just cut down on some of those unnecessary trades. It'll cut down on the over trading for sure. All right, so let's journal this trade so that we can screenshot it and put it in our journal. So basically we're just identifying all this over again, and I'm going to mark it up. All right, so this this was an intraday trade. Intraday trade. I probably didn't need the call out for that, but okay. This is an intraday trade. Price ran last week's high and did that there. Let's move this over here. I actually want to change it. I don't like that template. Price ran last week's high here. We had our consolidation and liquidity run. It's here. Break a structure. We could just mark this one. That's our break a structure. Our fair value gap was here. Entry here. Entry at 50% of fair value gap. Price hit stop loss due to price retesting the weekly high. Oh, you know what else? Is today a news day? Today was a news day, and I looked at Forex Factory, and what was the news? I think it was a yellow folder. Hold on, let's look, because we need to journal that too. February 21st, 9:45. Okay, it was PMI, big dog. We need to remember that. For sure. Because this was money. Because, like, for real, though, I wonder, I don't know. Because learning that when price ends off somewhere on Friday, Sunday, and Monday, price normally continues that move. If I would have known, we probably could still be in it and then caught this whole thing, but we'll test the theory. We have time. This is why we're tracking it, so that we know that next month PMI, baby, I don't know, I don't care if Nas is buying or if it's selling, it's going somewhere. Okay, all right. So price hit stop loss due to price retesting the weekly high. And then we're gonna comment. Today was PMI. Today was a news day. PMI. And was PMI negative? PMI was, yes, negative. The forecast was 53 and it came out as 49. And apparently this one is stronger than this one because the forecast on this one was 51.3, but it came out 51.6. So that was like 3 points stronger, but this one did the damage. We'll put negative PMI. And what is PMI? What is PMI? PMI stands for it measures level of diffusion index based on surveyed purchasing managers in the service industry. Usual effect. Actual greater than forecast is good for currency. So if this was above 53, then Nas probably would have bought. Frequency released monthly around 3 weeks into the current month. Next release is March 24th. Above 50 indicates industry expansion. Below indicates contraction. There are 2 versions of this report released about a week apart. Flash and final. Oh, okay, so do we have final PMI next week? Okay, so let's see. Flash and final. The flash release, which the source first reported in November 2013, is the earliest and thus tend to have the most impact. Alright, why traders care. It's a leading indicator of economic health. Businesses react quickly to market conditions, and their purchasing managers hold perhaps the most current and relevant insight into the company's view of the economy. Alright, so look out for PMI. PMI is a big one. So let's notate that today was not new, but news day, negative PMI. Negative PMI. Okay. Alright, so I think that's all my notes for my journal. I just want to make sure I can see everything so I can get a nice picture. Put this in my Discord, which is where I have my journal, so that we can look out for the same stuff, because basically trades just repeat themselves, right? Okay, here we go. Alright, and then before I forget, we're going to drop this news event. I've been doing horrible with keeping up with it, but we're definitely going to keep up with it because I believe that news matters. I don't have to go too deep in depth, but these numbers matter. As you can see today. Control. Market mover. And pretty much this one is price is negative, sell, price is positive, buy. For sure, for sure. Market mover, if forecast. Okay, if actual price is less than forecast, sell, and if actual price is greater than forecast, buy, right? Because it's all about supply and demand. Alrighty. And I'm actually gonna put the name of it. This little picture look a little tiny. Flash PMI. What is this? The third week, it said? Third week of the month. Alrighty. Now we can go to SPX. Now, although Nas hit stop loss, and remember it was within our rules, it was 92 point stop loss. SPX came on through and gave us some money. Yay! We love that. Oh, wait a minute. I had a clapping thing. I don't know what happened. We'll figure that out. But let's pull up our table. We're gonna clear this chart out. I'm gonna show you how I marked it up, and then we'll pull up our trading rules chart, and we'll walk through it to see if I followed my rules for this trade. All right, so if you're new here, again, I trade the weekly CRT, which is Romeo's method with ICT concepts. And it's just as simple as coming to the weekly chart, finding your candle for the week before. So this is this week's candle. This is last week's candle. So I mark up last week's candle. I mark up the high, the low, and 50% of that candle's range. All right, and then I come down to the hourly chart. And I pull my rules out. All right, and then we are going to go over the rules and notate our chart for our journal. All right, so first question. Are you scalping or intraday trading? Because I do both. Because I marked up the weekly CRT, I am intraday trading. So I'm going to go here and put an X here. And then I'm going to notate that on my chart for my notes. I should be putting the date on here too. Alrighty. Did price run a high or low? So this is my weekly high. This is my weekly low. Price ran our high. So I'm going to say yes. This line right here is last week's high. And as you can see, this is where price traded outside of last week's high. All right, it says if price ran a high or low, did price break structure and leave a fair value gap? I meant to add in one. I thought I added it. Oh, I added it and I didn't add the template. Wait a minute. We're gonna have to go back and save this template. This new template. Where's my? Here it is. Gonna have to rename it something else and delete the other one. Just do TR for now. Okay. All right, let's delete this one and put the new one because I had other questions. All right, let's pull my chart back up. So we've already established that this was an intraday trade. We've already established that price did run a high or a low. Did price consolidate and then run liquidity? All right, so our last high is here and our last high or low is here. Nope, actually our last high is here. Okay. Sorry about that. Our last high is here. Let me show you this consolidation area. Let me put it into a box for you. All right. So, do you see how price came to last week's high and it just played around in this area? All right, so our structure point, this is a higher low, this is a higher high, this is a higher low, this is a higher high, this is a lower low. So price broke structure when it broke our last higher low, which was here. Go back. Am I scalping or intraday trading? We established it was an intraday trade because I did my weekly CRT. Did price run a higher low? We established that yes, price ran a high because this line right here represents last week's high. Did price consolidate and then run liquidity? Price started to bounce between this high and low. It gave us a higher high, which ran our last structure point, which is our liquidity run. All right. So did we mark that? Yes. Did price consolidate and run liquidity? Yes. Okay. If price ran a high or a low, did price break structure and leave a fair value gap or order block or both? Price ran that high, price broke structure, price left a fair value gap right here. A fair value gap is anytime you see like a hole, a gap in the market. So if we look at all the other candles, you'll see that the candle before it traded back into it, which left these wicks because price traded back into it. With candles like this, price barely traded back in, and it just had so much power that price just pushed up and it left this big hole, this fair value gap. Fair value gap. So much volume came in the market that price just dropped down. So much volume came in the market that price is like, ooh, I have to get here. So it just pushed up really fast. Excuse me. Sienna. Okay, if you're new here, I have children. Welcome to the family. Okay, so price left this fair value gap. All right, so we mark up this fair value gap, and I more so block out my borders because I'm only interested in 50% of this zone. So I'm going to remove my border. All right. So let's move this up. So yet again, if price ran a higher low, did price break structure and leave a fair value gap or order block or both? So price did, that was a yes. So now, if this wasn't here, and if you go back on my TikTok, you'll see that I sent this trade out with a sell limit, and none of this had happened, right? So I get my short position and I put it at 50% of the fair value gap, put my take profit at 50% of the weekly CRT, and my stop loss goes at the high of the candle that created the fair value gap. So this risk to reward ratio, I would lose 14 points, which is $14 on my broker, and I would gain $55 or 55 points. And also, this is a 3-to-1, so this meets our requirement. My risk is $14. My reward is 55. Is it a 2-to-1 or more? Yes, because it is a 3-to-1. So yes. So calculate your loss again. That was the $14, and a win is a win is a win. So we're focusing more on what could we lose versus what we're gonna gain. All right. So this was my limit. I waited for price to come back up to let me in, which is the same thing that I did with Nas. That's why I got stopped out, because price continued to climb higher. It wanted to retest that high. All right, so yes, I did set a limit. Did the trade hit stop loss or TP? This one hit TP. Yay for me. I actually entered another position this morning. So I entered this one yesterday right there, and then this morning I saw that price was continuing to come up, and I found price at this fair value gap right here. And I entered right there. And I did post a picture. I'll post another picture, but I entered right there. So I caught 2 trades. This is how I made $123 today. And that risk to reward was even better. Okay. Now, if I would have held it, if I'd have realized that PMI was going to do so much, like I said, this is why we are tracking it for next month. We're definitely going to hold this and get all of that, because when price open up Sunday, Monday, it should be reaching for here. But I've tried not to hold over the weekend, so we're not gonna be greedy. We're gonna take it to the 50%. That's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna be greedy, okay? All right. So, did the trade hit stop loss or TP? Trade hit TP, and did you journal your trade? Yes, that's what we are doing here. I don't think I got all of my notes. Hold on. Let me get the rest of my notes typed up here so I can take my screenshot for my journal. And then we will go over the next trade. And the next trade is AJ. I actually posted that one. That was another stop loss. So we had 2 stop loss, 1 TP. But with risk management, we still came out profitable this week. Okay, so consolidation, liquidity, smart price. Alright, I'm dropping it in the Discord. We're using this as a journal because price repeats itself on the charts. Alright, so our next trade, AJ, look at this trash. Look at this trash. But guess what? It was only 15 pip stop loss. Like, when you follow CRT and ICT, the risk to reward is always going to be greater than a 1 to 2. This one was a 1 to 9 if this one would have played out, and I believe it's going to play out next week. We're going to be buying AJ next week, I think, but I'm not going to rush it. So let's mark this up and let's see. So I just made this trade table today, this checklist. So we're gonna go over this checklist and let's see why this hit stop loss. I already know why it hit stop loss, but let's walk through it. All right, so yet again this week, well, no, I wasn't. I actually was going for the monthly CRT on AJ, and let me tell you why I was going for the monthly. Last week, hold on. So CRT monthly, last month's high, last month's low, and 50% of last month's candle. Right? Now I'm gonna zoom in. tell me if you know why I was trading the monthly. This is 50% of last month's candle. Price literally came like 5.4 pips from the monthly 50%. So the higher the time frame, uh, the more of a magnet price is to go to that area, right? So I was like, oh, it ran the low last week. It came back up. It actually was pretty. Let me show you this real quick. It was pretty last week. So this, what was last week? Nope. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right dates. Last week, Monday was the 10th. Yeah, I'm looking at the right date. So this was last week's open Sunday, right? Price came outside of the range, came back in the range. Of course, it broke all kinds of structure. Then it finally gave a pullback to a gap, traded so close. And I was like, okay, well, it didn't hit, so maybe it's coming back to retest the low like it did on Nas, which is why I got stopped out. It came back to retest that high. So I was like, okay, maybe it came back to retest the low. Price came back in the range again and left another fair value gap. Then came back in again, left another fair value gap. So this is where I got in around here. And then price came up to this trend line. See how strong this trend line is? Raggedy. Raggedy. All we had to do was get on top of this. All we had to do was get on top of this. It would not get on top of this at all. And then at first, at the beginning of the week, we were in a flag pattern. We had this. So this is the pole. This is the flag. I was expecting price to come out, you know, do this retesting and hit 50%. Not at all. And normally, if you know anything about JPY pairs, you know that the yen is really weak in its currency. So if you're trading anything against the yen, it's normally a buy. Like AJ, GJ, EJ, like look at this. Look at this on the higher time frame. You see how this chart is just, it's been buying. It's dipping, but buying. Dipping, but buying, right? And this has been going on since 2020. Technically, this was our low. It's been buying since 2009 because the yen is so weak. That's why they say we can go over there and live like millionaires. Because our money is more valuable than theirs. Okay. So I'm going to mark it back up and we're going to walk through the steps just so that I can journal this. I need to journal this stop loss. Wah, wah, wah. Okay. Alright, so the low, the high, 50%. See, I'm gonna have to make my own playlist because none of these playlists are long enough. And I don't have time for these people commercials. Okay. Alright, so when I'm on the higher time frame, of course, I go down and I look at each time frame. So this is somewhat consolidation too, which is another reason why I wanted to see it come higher. But now that I'm looking at this a little closer, I see that price came up into this fair value gap and we created a lower low. Okay, so the start of this week was the 17th. The 17th, the 17th. All right. Where's my, oh, okay. I'm like, where's my zone? Let's pull this down some. Excuse me. All right, this week was the 17th, 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 17th. 17th starts over here, which really is 16th on Sunday. All right, let's pull out my chart. All right, let's go over our trading rules so that we can journal this trade. All right, first question, are you scalping or intraday trading? Since this was a monthly CRT, this was an intraday trade. So we have an X there. Did price run a high or low? So this week started on the 16th, 14th, 15th, 14, okay, 16. So 16, 17, 18th, 19th. On the 20th, price ran our low. So yes. Did price consolidate and then run liquidity? Now this is okay. So this is not consolidation. So in order for it to be consolidation, price has to stay within the last high and the last low, right? So our last high is here. No, sorry. Our last high is here. High, low, high. Sorry, we gotta make sure that's right. Low. High, low, high. We're gonna pull back here. Low, high. Okay, it's here, it's here, it's here. Our last high is here because this took us down to our low, right? So if you mark your last high, and your last low, in order for price to be considered consolidation, it would have to be something like this, right? Bouncing side to side continuously. But this actually gave us a high here, a tiny higher low, equal highs, another higher low, and then a higher high out of that range. So this did not give us consolidation. Did price consolidate and run liquidity? No. And since price did not consolidate and run liquidity, there is even no purpose of going through the rest of these because we need this, we need consolidation and a liquidity run before price can break structure and give us a gap. So yeah, this is definitely going to be helpful. So that here, we're going to clear these. We're going to clear this. Did trade hit stop loss or TP? It hit stop loss. Now let's journal this trade. And we journal this so that we can have a visual for next time. This is not consolidation. This does not qualify. All right, so this was an intraday trade. have to remember to put the date. All right, so price did run a low. What did that? Come on. Why are we? Oh, that's why. All right, so price did run a low, but price did not consolidate. So let's put this is not consolidation. It's a lot of work. Well, being a day trader is work. You should always study your trades. So I'm going over my wins and my losses, and I'm journaling it. All right, so price did not consolidate. I actually want to do it with my comment tool just because I like how it looks. Well, it just takes a while. It took me a while to get here. And it just takes adjusting to what you need. All right, so this is what we have on this one. And we're going to do our screenshot and add it to our journal. Now that is all I took this week was 3 trades because the price was a little finicky. But I do want to go over the other charts. So we had CAD news, and I just threw this long position here because we had a fair value gap here and we had news. I wanted to see if price was going to come here to the 50%, but no, it did not. And we actually, according to our rules, didn't even have a trade on CAD JPY. But we're going to go back over it. Let's see what I missed. All right, so if you're new here, I trade Romeo CRT method with ICT concepts. So on currency pairs, I look for a run on a higher or a low on the monthly or the weekly CRT. So this week I was looking at the weekly just because when I looked at the monthly, I noticed that price was still inside the range. Price actually just did this week. So I was like, let's go with the weekly range. So I marked up the high and the low of last week's range. And 50% of the candle's range. so we're just looking to see if we missed a trade this week on CAD JPY. So we're gonna take out our trading rules. All right, so first question, are you scalping or intraday trading? This would have been an intraday trade because I marked up the weekly CRT. All right, did price run a high or low? So this was last week's low right here, and as you can see, price did not run it until today. So that's a no. And this trade was, we did not have a qualifying trade on CAD JPY this week. Although, what was this? This week started on the 16th. Yeah. Although price did completely sell this week. Let's see. All right, Sunday price instantly started selling, and it actually gave some really nice pips. Let's see, the 16th. If somebody got in this and held this for 4 days, they would have caught 224 pips, but because it did not qualify for my trading style, I did not catch this trade. Alright, CHF JPY. This was also another one that I just threw a trading tool on just to forward test it to see what the market was going to do. I did not enter this trade. Good thing that I didn't, because it would have been a stop loss. Alright, so just looking at this, because I know what I'm looking for, I could already know that we did not have a trade on CHF JPY. This week I only made $120 this week. I normally make $800 to $900 a week because I can catch more than one trade. This week was very, very choppy. It was very, very choppy. Now I can't even say it was choppy. It didn't meet my qualifications. Like none of them. I want to see if there was anything that I missed. So I'm actually not even going to mark these up because I know that just looking at this was this week, this was last week, price did not run a high or low. Let's see. USD CAD, price didn't run a high or a low. EU, price did not run a high or a low. Like, do you see how these other weekly candles have been versus this week and this week? Is the third week of the month? The third week of the month might be the lowest volume. I do Forex and futures. Alright, so this one ran a high, but price never came in, traded into it for a TP. This one ran a low. I can already tell it didn't hit 50%. Yeah, so we got continuations, and we'll have to see. I don't know if it was because of news or what, but as we go on with our journaling, we'll start to notice the patterns. The third week of the month might just be continuations. Like, all of these candles are trading inside. This one ran a low. It did hit 50%. Let's see what happened on USD CHF. Alright, So we have last week's high, last week's low, and 50% of last week's candle. Oh, it did not hit 50%, so this wouldn't have been a TP. I've never gotten into options. I see a lot of people trading options, but when I was first introduced to day trading, I was first introduced to Forex, and then I got into the future side because I realized that futures and Forex basically they're similar. Because I trade NAS and SPX on the Forex side, I can trade it on the future side also. Okay, so price didn't run this low until today, so that didn't qualify. Just looking at this range though, I can tell price came back to this order block right here. I wasn't paying attention to USD, CHF at all. I probably could have caught this and took it back to the low. That was a nice 80 pips. Alright, EJ traded inside last week, didn't run a high or a low. NU ran a high. It's the same as EU, GU, AU. Alright, Euro odd. Let's see if that hit 50%. Oh, Euro odd is in some ugly consolidation. Price did hit 50%. Okay, we might have missed EA. Let's see if EA met the qualifications to trade it. When did it run this? Thursday. Okay, it met the qualifications. This would be a trade that we would still be holding if we caught it, and we could possibly still catch it next week. Let's see. Let's pull our table out. Alright. So, are we scalping or intraday trading? This will be an intraday trade because this was a weekly CRT markup. Did price run a low or a high? Price ran last week's low. It ran it right here. Did price consolidate and then run liquidity? Okay, so this is how we can identify consolidation because this is consolidation. So this was our last lower high, and this was our last lower low. Nope. Lower high. We had a pullback right here. So this was our last lower high. Lower high, lower low, lower high. This little pullback right here sent us down lower, right? So let's zoom in on that. Let me show you. All right, so I identify consolidation by structure points, right? My black candles represent buys and my pink candles represent sales. So since price is in a downtrend, when my black candles show up, that represents a pullback, which represents a market structure. So this gave us a higher low, take that down to our next black candle. This was our lower low. This was our next higher low. So we'll mark our last higher low, because our last higher low took us down to our lowest point, which is our lower low. And this is our structure point. Price stayed within these two areas. This is consolidation. Price broke this structure because this was our last higher low. Price broke our structure and it left us a fair value gap. Let's go back to our chart real quick. It got away from us. All right. So we've identified that this was an intraday trade. We have identified that price ran last week's low, which is here. Let me mark that. This black line right here. Now price consolidated. And then we did not, yes we did. We got a liquidity run. Okay. So liquidity is when price takes out a low or a high. So this was our lowest low, and then price gave us right here like a higher low because price did not come lower than this, right? So I'm gonna mark this right here. Price came down and ran that low, and that is our liquidity run. All right, that little baby move right there. I want to make sure it's the right line. Let's actually do it like this. Delete that. So where that arrow is pointing, this is liquidity, because this was our low, this was our like higher low, and then price came down and ran that. It didn't run this, but it could have, and then price decided to come up, break our structure, and leave a fair value gap. We have a fair value gap right here. And remember, a fair value gap is like a hole in the market. All right. So this is a fair value gap. This is a fair value gap, right? Because if you look at the rest of these candles, you see we have wicks, long wicks on the other candles that price trades into the candle before it. So price left a fair value gap here. And that's our entry. Now, normally, stop loss would be below the candle that created the fair value gap. But if we had it here, it looks like price did come down and stop us out, and it was only 8 pips, right? So sometimes if it's too tiny, I will bring it down to the following candle, and at least try to do 20 pips. I can live with myself with 20 pips, and with this we can live with 18, right? And then we wouldn't have got stopped out of the trade, and could have targeted this high here for TP, and then so that was 76 pips, which is a 4-to-1, or hold it over the weekend and catch this 6-to-1, 122 pips. I'm actually going to highlight this one yellow, and when Sunday comes in, we're gonna see what happens. If price, we might just get in this, right? We have a gap here and a break of structure here. Price is gonna want to come back and give us a pullback. Let me see what this looks like on the 4-hour. Okay, and we even have a gap here. So we'll see if we're going to get into this buy next week. I think price also even broke out of a trend line, because as you can see, we had this downtrend here, and we have one. Come on, what are you doing to me? Got 1, 2 points. All right, yep. All right, so trend line, we have our 2 points. Price broke out of this trend line. Yeah, most definitely want to see price pull back and retest this fair value gap here, and then we can get in. I'm going to be looking out for this next week. Alright, it's a 2-to-1, 35 pip stop loss for a 98 pip TP. I'll do probably $3. So $3, 3 times 35. That'll be $105 loss for 3 times 98. For $294 gain. Forex, yep, for sure, for sure. We're just going over our trades from last week and then doing some markups for next week. Do you trade? Was going over SPX. I posted this one on my page on TikTok and Instagram, and whoever got in, they profited. We made $120 off of this trade. $120 in about an hour or two. Nope, a couple of hours. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3.5 hours. We made $120. Alrighty, well, that was the wrap up. You're not sure of a trusted broker. Yeah, I'm with CoinEx currently. They've been doing me right, but they aren't regulated. But there are plenty of regulated brokers. All the brokers that you see on TradingView, like Owanda and Forex.com, Black Bull, all of those are regulated brokers, so you don't have to worry about them running off with your money. Yeah, like right here. So if you go down to trading panel, so Forex.com is a Forex broker. I'm not sure about AMP. I know Tasty Trade is futures, Webull is futures, TradeStation is futures, Owanda is Forex. I'm pretty sure Tasty FX is Forex. That's futures. I could have sworn Black Bull was on here. Okay, all brokers. NinjaTrader is futures. Okay, there we go. So all of these are either futures, options, or forex brokers. So if you want a regulated broker, just come here and look through here and do your research. No problem, no problem. 8cap is Forex, Capital.com is Forex. I just choose to stick with the unregulated broker. I've been with CoinEx for a long time because the leverage. The leverage. I like that 1 to 500 where I can risk a little more with a little less in my account. I'm gonna check my Trump coin real quick because I have not checked it all week. And I noticed it's been bouncing around the $17 area and it's getting on my nerves. Like, why don't you just go ahead and buy already? Yeah, it was just consolidating. This is ugly. Yeah, we had this nice little spike last week up to $17. This wasn't last week. February 13th, this was last week. Wait, what was this? Okay, price got up to 24. Okay, here we go. It's our full chart. Price got up to $24. And now we're back here, back in the slums, just consolidating at $16. It better stop playing with me. All-time highs was $49. I think it was $78. I don't know. I don't like this chart. Thought it was $78, but this is where we're getting back up to. I just had to check that real quick. We also called this trade on the live. This trade was unruly. It decided to come up and hit my stop loss and then came down and hit TP. Tragic. But this is why we have good risk to reward. So no worries, SPX definitely made up for it. Alright, if y'all have any questions, if y'all don't have any questions, I'm gonna go ahead and end the live here. It's almost 10 o'clock, it's Friday, and it's time to relax. I finished my journaling. You guys can join me back tomorrow. You can go ahead and hit the notification bell and it'll let you know when I'm back live. And we're going to continue to mark up our charts for next week. And then I'll be on live Sunday when the market opens. Also Monday Monday through Friday. I am live every day at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, catching live trades. So if you want to come make some money, do it in your demo first. But if you're just ready to dip your feet in the water, come on and join us. All right, you guys. Y'all have a good night.